This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
91 Donkey Lane is a magical apartment complex that contains immense power but lacks intelligent inhabitants.
What is happening?
I'm getting texts.
Why are we getting a lot of texts?
People found out what we did.
Oh, dividing Mike Myers into an infinite amount of tiny Mike Myers?
Listen to 91 Donkey Lane for free on Spotify or your favorite podcasting app. More at 91donkeylane.com. See you there, you donkeys.
In the darkest corners of the internet, a nameless, formless entity has been growing. No one dares question where it was created or what it wants, but those who have been entranced by its musings chant its blood-curdling name in unison. Horror Movie Night! Find Horror Movie Night on your favorite podcasting app or at hmnpodcast.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of YAOK. This is the voice of producer Matt, and because all three of us are Halloween-loving fiends, we're doing something a little bit different. Last year, Erik and I went through our 5 favorite Goosebump books for infamous not Goosebump reader Alyssa Lube. Now those numbers are even lower. Erik is going to talk to us about his love of Christopher Pike. Before you do that, though, Erik, I want to ask Alyssa, does the name Christopher Pike literally mean anything to you?
So it does, but only because I have a friend in real life whose name is Christopher Pike, but has nothing to do with the author.
Has nothing to do with the
author.
author.
Is actually it's a pen name. It's not even his real name.
No way.
Whoa.
His name's like McFadden, Christopher McFadden or something.
Okay.
For me,
Pike's a
these
way
are
better
definitely
thriller author name, I think.
Yeah.
McFadden is not a name that invokes fear.
Yeah.
No, that's my psychiatrist's name, so it's like
So separate the worlds.
I definitely, as a child of the 90s, remember seeing these books at like scholastic book fairs and libraries and all of that, but they were like never my scene. I was always the Goosebumps kid, but like, yeah, that cursive writing of that name, I remember adorn on many a book and never really read them. I think because I thought I was looking for like monsters and ghouls, and these always seemed more like almost like a Cinemax level thriller for teens.
They do, like, I think they start off as, because I think that the Fear Street books were more about like the like humans doing stuff, and like sometimes there'd be like a supernatural like twist. I think with Christopher Pike, he started out doing mainly human thrillers, and then I think after running out of ideas, because I think they had to release like maybe 3 books a year, because this was like, these were all like what, $4.99, $3.99 something. There's not even a price on it. It probably was just being given away to children. $3.99. This book was $3.99. So you
That's
could get
what I was
a
gonna say.
book
It
for
almost
$3.99
was
back in the day.
they were like the 90s teen versions of like a pulp novel that you would find as an adult off the rack. Now, Erik, real quick before you dive into some of your favorite stories, obviously we could have also discussed Lewis Duncan, who had a couple books that were turned
Lois
into
Duncan.
famous Lois Duncan that had
Lois is a woman.
A woman. You know,
That's not a pen name, is it?
She wrote, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Killing Mr. Griffin. She wrote a lot of books that became fairly popular 90s teen slashers. Were there any Christopher Pike books that became movies as far as you know, or?
Yes and no. No is the answer. But they did Netflix made The Midnight Club, which is Mike Flanagan's show.
That's right. In every episode, they tell a story that's one of his novels.
Yeah, like this one, which is called The Wicked Heart, was I think the first one. The
Midnight Club was so good. I was so bummed that got canceled.
Honestly, I think Midnight Club, the show, was better than the book because the book is actually not scary. I think the book is more, it's more of like a drama. It feels more like The Fault in Our Stars because it's a bunch of terminally ill kids.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like these kids dealing with death in their own way. But the show like adds a lot of like supernatural aspects to it. And it was such a great idea too, because it was adapting every single book like differently. So like, I feel like The Witch was one of them, but
The Witch may have even been the wraparound to the whole thing because I think they revealed that witches ran the Midnight Club in like the big finale. I think they were trying to make that the wraparound story for season 2.
Because this one, The Witch, was about this girl who her mother she has powers like her mom does, and they're like healing powers, but her mother tried to heal this kid who was I think he was brain dead after a motorcycle accident, and that ended up killing her mother as well. So it's like this power that you can heal people, but you're like taking a little bit of the ailment on yourself. And I remember there being a lot of like coven stuff and like trying to heal people, and I didn't like it that much because this was one I actually reread recently, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I was like, oh, I thought it was supposed to be scarier. I thought it was like a witch who was like killing people, but it was more about
cottage witch.
Yeah, well, and that leads to one last big question before I want you to tell us a little bit about Christopher Pike books and why you like them so much. But would you say that your upcoming novel, available in January of next year, Better the Devil, is heavily inspired by the writings of Christopher Pike?
Yeah, and because I actually... that's a good way for me to jump right into one of the books that I think it was the first Christopher Pike book that I kind of picked up off the shelf at the library and read and was like, oh shit. Because I think I do like to write in a similar vein where it's like, I like to think that these are books from the 90s. So they're very stereotypical in terms of like what the characters are. And we're just not at that point anymore. I think we have elevated all media past that because it was always just kind of like these stereotypical school kids where they're like, oh, I'm a cheerleader. And
it's like Breakfast Club.
Yeah. And it's like, it's either the cheerleaders or the nerds. And there's very clear dynamics of these schools. And I think that things have changed since. But the one thing that always got me was they kind of start with this like really, really violent, shocking moment that kind of pulls you along with the whole story. And that being said, some of them are absolutely fucking insane. And I think maybe those twists and stuff are partly why I love writing thrillers and horror. First one.
I have already told you this, but I'm almost completely done Better the Devil at the time that we're recording this. And I messaged Erik and was like, this is the most you book that you've written so far, like based on your sensibilities, where it's like, I know that deep down, if you can become known as like the next Christopher Pike, the next like big name in YA horror and thriller, that you would be overjoyed, over the moon to like take that mantle.
Listen, I want nothing more than to traumatize an entire generation of kids. I think that is what the goal should be for every horror writer, pretty much. This was the first one I ever looked at. It's called Monster. And I mean, it's just a simple cover. It's a little football player with red eyes in front of a red moon, obviously, because it's dark. And he's just walking with this blonde girl. And that's it. So I was like, ooh, this is what I saw this in the library, and I was like, this is what I want to read. And the first chapter is the main character at this after football game high school party, and her best friend walks in with a shotgun and shoots two of her fellow classmates. Yes.
Whoa.
Like, but not just shoots them, blows their fucking heads off, brain, bone, all of it, all over the walls. And
How
it is
is this
describing
YA?
it.
Like, it feels...
Because they're high schoolers. That's the essence.
And it was all pre-Columbine, so I feel like this is in 1992, as this copyright page says. The first edition was November 1992. Ooh, which I think this might be, because so if you look in the copyright page, anytime you see a 1 like that with all of these numbers after it, it usually means that's the first edition. But so I don't think there were very many rules for books back then for kids, because this one it fucked me up. And because I remember reading it, and I was used to like Goosebumps and Fear Street, which Fear Street was usually, if the kids were dead, they were ghosts, and it was like hinted at, like they could talk about, oh well, they died in some tragic accident years ago. I never read on page a teen walking into a party and blowing away other teens that were there. Like they were monsters, so it's not like she was killing actual human beings, but like that is the whole point. That's the first chapter, and then she visits her friend in prison, and her friend tells her that everybody on the football team have been turned into monsters, and she is to like, and of course she's like dating one of the football players and stuff.
So, you know, Alyssa, you brought up a really good question though about the 90s. And Erik, I mean, I don't expect you to be like this full-blown historian on this, but was there even that bit? I feel like there wasn't YA the way that there's YA now, right? Like, I feel like there was a lot of middle grade books. I can think of a billion middle grade books from the 90s and early 2000s. And then I can think of adult novels, but like that, what YA has become now, which is way more like, hey, here are books written for high schoolers and college age students. Like, I don't think that there was that much of an emphasis on that. So in a lot of ways, I feel like Christopher Pike, especially at the time that these books are being published, is kind of setting up the rules in a genre that's not getting that much attention at that point in time. Like,
I mean, maybe because I know R.L. Stine always said that he didn't want, the only thing he would consider off limits was divorce. Like he would never write about divorce because he's like, that is a thing that kids actually, that's a trauma that kids actually experience.
Yeah.
And especially if they're reading it in elementary school and middle school, like that's when it's at its freshest. Like, I don't think that like a 12th grader is reading a book that mentions divorce and they're feeling trauma.
But like, I feel like there's probably divorced kids in Christopher Pike's books.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like Christopher Pike was like, fuck them kids.
Yeah, basically. And then there's another one called Spellbound, which I actually reread probably like 4 or 5 years ago. That was another one that I read. I think I might have read this even before Monster, where somebody maybe gave it to me as like a birthday gift, but I was way too young. I was probably like 7. And like, I think the first chapter might be a newspaper article. Oh, it is. How did Karen Holly die? And it's just a newspaper article about this girl who was killed. But it's like very descriptive that she was found face down in a creek with her skull crushed. And it like describes how her skull was crushed and all the brains and everything everywhere. So I think it was just like the violence was surprising to me as a kid because I was like, oh, I didn't actually think that we could write things like this for kids. And that's what made me want to read more of it.
I hope that this doesn't affect the things I write about 30 years from now.
Absolutely does. To an extent. Because, before I get into that, I want to talk about, there's 2 that I was looking over and like, I was just reading the back and like memories flooded back to me. And I was like, holy shit. I can't believe that was actually a book. But like Wicked Heart was one that is on, I think, one of the Midnight Club adaptations, where it's basically this kid is walking around murdering women at breaking into their houses and like smothering them with a pillow while he like bashes their brains in with a hammer. And
oh my God.
there is a voice that is telling him to do this. And so I think his girlfriend maybe starts to suspect that something's going on. And I'm also going to be doing some spoilers because these are from the 90s. And honestly, I don't even think half of them are still in print.
20-year rule. After 20 years, spoilers don't apply.
And we will learn that some of these, I think, will never be reprinted.
Yeah.
But like, I think he ends up being... There's like, I vaguely remember there being like some Nazi subplot where it's a Nazi that can transfer his mind into other people's thoughts. And so he is like the great grandson of this Nazi who infected his mother. His mother was killing people, but then she has Alzheimer's, I think. And then so the voice starts to speak to him instead. So he is killing all of these women because it's a Nazi.
Oh my God.
I feel like I'm missing something, but I'm pretty sure it's a Nazi that's doing it.
It's crazy. I
have so many... like that's probably one that's like...
Yeah, that will never be printed again. But that's a crazy storyline. And it feels like there's so many political comments I could make and I'm going to leave. You know where my brain is.
We're going to hop into the political stuff now because you know what? I think we're going to start with Die Softly.
Ooh.
Which this has a great setup. It's this kid, he's a little nerd who loves like film and video and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he, on paper, the idea sounds fun because there's been plenty of other media that it's kind of ripping off. And basically he has a camera and he thinks that maybe he caught a murder on it, which is something that happens there's a movie called Blow Up, where it's like an Italian photographer is like taking pictures and he thinks like when he goes to like look at it in the background of one of the pictures, he sees a murder and he starts investigating it. There's an American remake that Brian De Palma made with John Travolta called Blowout.
Ooh. Okay.
Where he's a sound recorder for like a sound engineer for a horror movie that he is actually on the street that my house is off of in Philadelphia.
Whoa.
And he's just recording like B-roll sound for a horror movie and ends up recording the assassination of a senator on the audio. And then he and a prostitute end up getting wrapped up in this conspiracy. Great movie. Everyone should watch it. Anyway, Die Softly. It sounds like, oh, that's a great idea. Here's the 90s twist. This main character is a virgin loser who breaks into the high school girls' bathroom to set up the camera to take pictures of them showering. That is how the book starts.
What?
And this is the main character who has caught
He's your hero.
One of the girls
oh my God.
getting murdered in the shower naked on his camera that he has set up to take certain pictures.
That's crazy.
It is insane.
What an insane concept. But
it gets crazier because I remembered what the twist was too.
Okay.
God,
so I think that it ends up being like there's a whole lot of coke that all these high schoolers are doing.
Sure.
As they were known to do in the 90s. Continue.
Yeah, of course. But like the other thing is, so he doesn't
How is
even
going to blow off steam?
He does not hide the fact that he snuck into the bathroom and did this. I think one of the girls even tells him to do it. Because I think the girl that tells him to do it is the murderer, pretty much. Or like one of the murderers. There's a conspiracy involved. But either she or like one of her friends ends up tying this kid to a bed, sex stuff. And confesses to him that she is the one who set him up to do all of this. And there's this weird murder revenge subplot where they actually laced cocaine with poison and forced this other person to sniff it because they duct tape his mouth shut and he has to breathe it in through his nose. So she does that to the main character and kills him. And that is like the ending. But then there's an epilogue where you find out that he hid a camera in the room before she showed up to record in case he died. He was hoping to have sex, but he did it just in case she was going to kill him, and she did. So now she's going to get in trouble for being murdered because the police find this. And that is the end. So I was like, as I was thinking about it, I was like, this one's so fucked up. But it's
That's
actually
sick.
the perv does get his comeuppance, and so does the
Yeah.
murderer. So is it that bad? And now I
So-
kind of want to reread it.
I'm gonna throw around a word that I am 100% sure Erik knows, 90% Alyssa knows, but not positive the average listener of YOK would know. It seems like Christopher Pike was writing American Giallo stories. Like
Yeah.
they really fit the pacing of Giallo stuff.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
because is there...
Okay,
So,
so
Go ahead.
Alyssa, a Giallo is in the, I think it dates
I
back
think
to
it
like the
might be
50s and
pronounced
60s.
Giallo, though, isn't it? Or is it Giallo?
Oh,
It's
I
Italian.
always
It's an
heard it
Italian
pronounced
word.
Giallo. It's an
Something
Italian
like
word.
that. I don't think I've
It
ever
is
heard
a
it pronounced,
type.
though.
It is a type of horror film from Italy in the 70s and 80s, and it gets its name from yellow.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jello
because-
is yellow.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
it's
yellow.
it gets that name because murder mystery books in the 50s had yellow spines, and all of the books are
Oh.
based on like the yellow spine of the murder mystery book. Like someone said, like I remember reading someone say like the best giallo writer was like an Agatha Christie. Like all these filmmakers grew up loving reading Agatha Christie books,
Mhm.
and we're like, well, what if an Agatha Christie book had the level of violence of a Friday the 13th? And they would make these like films like Twitch of the Death Nerve or Bay of Blood or Opera, I think is a pretty popular one. Like they would make these movies where it is a murder mystery, just like an Agatha Christie. It's a full-blown whodunit the
Mhm.
entire time. But then like the violence is unrelenting. Like whereas like an Agatha Christie book would just be like, and then they found the body.
Yeah.
In the
yeah,
movie,
yeah.
in the movie, it's like, oh well, this knife is going to come through the neck and out the top of the mouth, and like it was just like, however fucked up they could make the violence be,
Yeah,
they
they did.
really pushed it far. But everything you're describing sounds like plots to Giallo books.
And I feel like
movies.
most of the Giallo movies do have that, like, the element of, like, there's a
Perviness.
morality there, too.
There's
where it's like
morality. There's a lot of
somebody
peeping
did something
Tom,
immoral, and
Yeah.
they are being punished for it because of that. Which
and your hero
most
is
of these
usually, and yeah, your hero is often not flawless. like they design it in a way that the hero of the story can still die at the end of the story because they are
They suck
not
too.
blameless. Not unlike a main character of an upcoming YA novel that I'm currently reading.
You're not even towards the end yet, so you don't know what's going to happen.
I am 3/4 of the way through the book. I would describe that as being towards the end.
Trust me. Trust me. You don't. I like can't even describe. It's like the last like 50 pages. I think that are the craziest.
I can't wait. I'm so excited for
Well,
this.
we're talking about Christopher Pike.
But we're not talking
Yes.
about that yet. Stay
So-
tuned for March for that conversation, but get your book in January.
91 Donkey Lane is a magical apartment complex that contains immense power but lacks intelligent inhabitants.
What is happening?
I'm getting texts.
Why are we getting a lot of texts?
People found out what we did.
Oh, dividing Mike Myers into an infinite amount of tiny Mike Myers?
Listen to 91 Donkey Lane for free on Spotify or your favorite podcasting app. More at 91donkeylane.com. See you there, you donkeys.
In the darkest corners of the internet, a nameless, formless entity has been growing. No one dares question where it was created or what it wants, but those who have been entranced by its musings chant its blood-curdling name in unison. Horror Movie Night! Find Horror Movie Night on your favorite podcasting app or at hmnpodcast.com. In the darkest corners of the internet, a nameless, formless entity has been growing. No one dares question where it was created or what it wants, but those who have been entranced by its musings chant its blood-curdling name in unison. Horror Movie Night! Find Horror Movie Night on your favorite podcasting app or at hmnpodcast.com.
To touch on the fact with like the morality, though, we will talk about this other one called Whisper of Death. So that one this is one that I kind of want to reread because my memory of it may not be correct.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it falls under the kind of umbrella of like the 90s morality where it feels like maybe this one's a little preachy in a way that didn't need to be.
Okay.
Because so this one's this boy and girl, they come home, they're like away for the weekend, which I don't think that boyfriends and girlfriends could really travel together back in the 90s, like for a weekend.
Yeah. Feels.
But I think that's part of the twist at the end where you find out where they actually were. And they go back to their hometown and they realize that the whole town is empty. When they call other towns, nobody's answering the phones. And there's maybe like a handful of other kids from their school who are in this empty town and nobody knows what's going on. And at the kids start dying off. And at the end, I believe it is all in the girl's head, because I think you find out that she actually went away with her boyfriend to get an abortion and she is dying during the abortion. And I think that's why it's called Whisper of Death, is like she in her head is kind of being tormented by her unborn fetus who is angry at her for getting her aborted. And she can either choose to die or like repeat the same trip over and over.
Right.
She learns that it may not have been her first time going back to her town or something. I don't know. But I remember it being about an abortion and she chooses to die during the abortion. And then the guy is driving home after his girlfriend has died during this abortion and sees the adult ghost of the baby hitchhiking, and he stops to pick her up.
Wow. That is God tier purity
Fucking
culture
wild,
guilt.
right?
Holy shit.
Boy, yeah.
I want to reread it to be like, am I wrong? Is that how it ended?
Am I making this
remember
up?
the twist being the abortion, because that in my head I was just like, but
Yeah.
I'm like, is that how it happened?
Holy shit, dude. That's crazy.
It's a short one. Maybe I'll just like reread it this weekend or something. Only like
God.
150 pages.
I like that those books are short.
Yeah.
You can like breeze
So it's
through
like-
a bunch of them.
It is that weird purity culture, because I think the Die Softly had all of the one with the perv had all of the like the drug. It
Right.
felt like it was written to be read during like a dare
Dare.
assembly or something.
Yeah.
And then I think
Wow.
even like Monster was a little bit about, they end up finding out it's like the lake that is in the town that was caused by a meteor making all of these kids into alien monster things that are eating human flesh. But I'm pretty sure it was still kind of like something about clicks and drugs too. That's like a metaphor. I'm trying to wonder. I wonder if there's like other ones that were as fucked up that I can't really remember. A lot of them start to kind of repeat
Mesh together.
too, because I'll like look at the covers and be like, is this the one where it was all a dream and you were the girl was actually a goddess from a Greek goddess who was buried alive and she's just making things up while she's dying? I don't know.
I like that these books are time stamped. Like you would never have a book with a school shooting anymore, and you would never really have a book with, I mean, maybe you would with that level of like purity culture abortion stuff, but it would be like, it would be handed out at like an evangelical church or something.
Yeah, 100%.
Like those things would not exist now, but it's kind of nice. And every now and again, when I read books that were written recently and there's like these little modern like moments in them, I turn into a boomer where I'm like, what is this woke what is this woke business? And I'm a sex educator, so like I want everyone to have safe sex, and so it's great. Like the book that I just finished, they have a conversation where like she asks if the guy has a condom, and then he asks for consent to touch her, and in that moment, I was like, woke brain virus, that's crazy in a book. But I was like, but in reality it is great. But like it's interesting to hear the things that are time stamped and are just so like, oh my God, that would never come out now.
You just said that, and I'm like looking at the monster book again, and I think that the main character, I think the way she ends up turning into one of the monsters at the end is through unprotected sex. I might be wrong, but in my head, I like remember there being like some kind of STD kind of thing, because at the end at the end of this one, she gets basically all of the monsters into a house and blows it up and kills like 32 kids because all of them are monsters.
I think it's
because they're all like having sex, but she still stays alive somehow and chooses to keep hiding in the woods. I don't know. I forget, but.
All right, so I have two thoughts. Thought number one, back to something Alyssa said. I feel I know what you mean, where it's like, I think we're all progressive people, but then every once in a while there will be something that shows up. I forget what movie it was, but I was watching a movie where unironically a character said unalive themselves. And I was just like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. I got so unbelievably angry about it.
Like when Beetlejuice came out and they had Winona Ryder with an iPhone, I was like, it just is not, it doesn't fit in this cinematic universe. It just doesn't fit. And it's weird.
Which is funny because Tim Burton, I feel like infamously was like, well, there's not a lot of people of color in my films because they don't aesthetically fit what I do. And it's like, shut the fuck up, Tim Burton. Get the hell out of this world.
That's crazy. Crazy work.
Erik, I'm assuming the answer is no. I'm looking at Chris Pike's Wikipedia right now just to try to gauge here, but it looks like there's about 30 individual young adult novels that he wrote, and then he had like side series, but the traditional Chris Pike books that people think of, they are not serialized, right? They are all like, you could just grab any one of those books kind of off the shelf and be able to read it and not be like missing connective tissue between characters for the most part.
Some of them. Other ones are series though. So like these.
That's what I'm saying. I did see that there's like a cheerleader series and stuff.
There's 3. There's 2 sequels to Remember Me, which that one I don't even remember. I read which
you did not remember.
That's crazy.
Don't remember any of those. They weren't that memorable. And then there's like there's like little mini series, I guess. But yeah, they're all pretty much standalone. They're not like taking place in the same town. I think they're supposed to take place all across the United States because I think it's supposed to be kind of like just the 80s, 90s United States. But yeah.
All right.
Well, listen, you said something about I was going to say something. You were talking about, and Matt, you mentioned like hearing somebody say unalive themselves as unironic. And there was something I was going to talk about, but I forget what it was. And it was along those lines where it was just kind of like, it felt
forced.
Yeah. Forced and unrealistic where it
felt like a 40-year-old trying to write in a Gen Alpha dialect. And
have either of you watched The Studio?
I watched Juno. I did watch The Studio.
It's basically that episode where they're casting the Kool-Aid movie.
Yes.
And they're just trying so hard not to offend anyone. But none of the studio executives will use the word racist or black the entire time. If the whole episode, they realize that because they cast Ice Cube as the Kool-Aid Man, it might be racist. And so the whole episode is about them trying to cast this movie, this stupid fucking animated film based on a drink, and not offend anybody. And it's just like, it's very much like, oh, that's what it was. I wanted to ask if any of you had seen the Marc Maron special on HBO. Panicked, I think.
Not yet, but I love
it's so good.
Marc Maron.
It's so good because the first thing that he talks about is, he's like, I don't know, progressives, I think we have a messaging problem because everything we say just is such a buzzkill. And he's like, you know that we have annoyed the average American into fascism, right? It's like, he like lays out, he's like, all of these, he's like, I understand he's like, I'm a progressive guy, but we have changed everything so much that now we're just annoying normal people into being okay with fascism. And he like lists out all of this stuff. And I was just listening to him. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. No, I love Mark. I've always liked Mark Maron, but Mark Maron, retired podcaster who hates everything that's happened in the world, specifically in podcasting, has been one of my favorite things of 2025. Like him just guesting on other podcasts just to shit on people like Joe Rogan, or to go on podcasts of Joe Rogan's contemporaries to tell them to their face that they're ruining America. Like, I'm like, I love this evolution of Mark Maron.
That's like all
this
of
is
the
better than Glow
fantastic.
Mark Maron.
It's amazing. I loved it.
Alyssa, you should watch the studio. It was a surprisingly smart, fun show.
Especially if you like,
and it's all quick. They're like 30-minute episodes on Apple TV.
It is, I think, it's Entourage without any of the
douchiness.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the douchiness.
Like, I think it is what Entourage wishes it was, because I think, like, going back, I think this will be the one thing that, like, everybody is going to be trying to do cameos as themselves on.
Okay.
Zoe Kravitz's cameos, or like cameos. She stars as herself on it, but she's so funny.
I love her.
Even I would even say, like, one of the better episodes, specifically for like Alyssa being the horror fan, is when they're trying to make the movie that's not Smile, but it's very clearly trying to cash in on the movie Smile, and they're trying to hire the director of Smile to do it. And he's like, listen, let's be honest. You're trying to pay me to make a cheap knockoff of my own movie, and I'm fine with that. he's like, but I need this much money in order to do it.
I just watched The Substance for the first time. Like, I'm behind on everything.
Did you love it?
I loved it. It's also one of those things where, like, it's like dark and crazy, and it makes sense, and everything is going, and then it's like, and it feels very like it's being taken very seriously, and then you get to the last like 20 minutes of the movie, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
So hard.
I'm very excited.
Oh my God,
it's
so
coming
good.
It's coming to HBO Max on Friday, so I'm gonna watch it. When that drops.
You have not seen it either?
I haven't seen it yet. Eric, I love you. I live with 3 children, and finding 2.5 hours to watch a horror movie in theaters was not easy.
I loved the everyone talks about the body horror in The Substance, and it is really good. There's one, and this doesn't spoil anything, but there's a scene where one of them, I don't remember if it's the younger version or if it's Sue or if it's, I remember Demi Moore. Yeah. Where she pulls something out of her belly button.
Ugh.
It's crazy. And like only a person who is sick in the head like us would describe it this way, but it's like gorgeous. Like the like I don't know how they did that. It looked so
Eric,
real.
I'm gonna give a quick origin story to Alyssa and I's friendship real quick, because I don't know if you know this. But I had booked Alyssa to be the guest on a podcast that I was producing at the time that's no longer around. And it was right as The Circle was still airing. Like, it was during the season's episodes still dropping. So we didn't even know if she had won the show or not at that point. And the host was asking Alyssa, like, how did she get onto the show? And she was talking about having moved to LA. And she was like, oh, why'd you move to LA? And she was like, oh, I wanted to do horror makeup. I wanted to get a career doing horror makeup at the time. And the host was like, what drew you to that? And she's like, there's this movie Hellbound 2, Hellraiser, where she's like, there's just this skinless woman, and it's the most gorgeous thing I'd ever watched in my entire life. And I was like, at this point, I'm not even on mic. I'm just like a producer behind the scenes. And I'm like, who is this person?
It still is like Julia with no skin.
Julia.
I'll never forget it. It was so well done.
I only recently watched Hellraiser 2 for the first time.
It's such a good sequel. It is an unbelievably good sequel.
I liked it better than the first.
I think it's
Because
a
I
contender
didn't
for
like
one of the few
Hellraiser.
sequels that's better. Yeah.
I thought
You didn't like
Hellraiser,
the
I
first
was
one
like,
either?
it's a little boring. And then
It
I
is a little
watched
boring.
Hellraiser 2 and I was like, this is great.
Oh, yeah, because you're just in hell the whole movie. The
Yeah.
movie is just a like effects like show.
Dream.
Like the whole thing
Yeah.
is just unbelievable sets. Man, now we're just diving into horror movies that people should watch. Watch Hellbound this
Yeah,
Halloween
please
season.
watch that. I'm due for a rewatch.
All right, well, Eric, we can start to wind down. If you have anything else you want to tell us about Chris Pike beyond that, we should probably read Chris Pike.
You know what? Let me see if they are like re-releasing these or not.
You know
I
what?
mean-
I looked on Amazon because I was like, maybe this is a good thing to download on like a Kindle for a quick little read through. And you can get Remember Me on Amazon,
Yeah.
Midnight Club,
Spooksville.
Give Me a Kiss.
They would definitely should re-release the whatchamacallit Midnight Club. I feel like they did that for the whole they did it for the Netflix thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I almost wonder if because
Kindle,
those
I
books
guess.
are so short, like, you know, like I have like an H.P. Lovecraft book that's like 50 of his stories in like a
Yeah.
big, thick book. Like, I wonder if they'll start doing like Chris Pike collections. Like, here's 4 of his books in like a hardcover or something
So
like
I think
that.
that's what they did. It looks like that's what they did with
Midnight Club
Remember
stuff.
Me, because
Okay.
that was 3 books. That was the one I showed all 3 of them. Because it says on Amazon that the print length is 544 pages, which to me, I was like, oh, that's 3 books. So 3 books for $6.99.
Wow, this book
That ain't
series is
bad.
nuts. I just read, this is the one sentence pitch for what Remember Me is on Wikipedia. The Remember Me series centers around the spirit of a murdered teenager who solves the mystery of her own murder, and then returns to life living in another person's body.
Another person is generous. That's
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's really big and very wow. Okay.
All right.
So be careful, because I just looked and there is the Kindle versions, I think might be like pirated versions.
What?
Oh.
Because it says like there's the like the paperback for Remember Me. It says it's normal 320 pages, and it says the publisher is Simon Pulse, which is Simon and Schuster. But the ebook says the publisher is Publish Drive, and I just Googled them, and it's a self-publishing thing. So I think somebody probably copied this, published it into, like, put it into Kindle, and then just uploaded it, and is just making money off of Christopher Pike.
How old is Christopher Pike, do we think?
69 years old.
Okay.
Still alive and in New York. Good old Kevin Christopher McFadden.
Wow.
Maybe we'll have him on one day.
That's a really
And then I'll ask him if
interesting-
there are any books that he's like, yeah, you know what, maybe that one shouldn't have written.
Yeah, I would actually
Die
I would like
Softly?
to
Yeah, I
know.
probably shouldn't have had a whole one about a kid who's taking naked pictures of women.
Yeah, I would
Or
like
he could
to
be one of
know.
those classic old school progressives where he's like, the kid died at the end. I don't know what more you wanted from me. It was a morality tale.
True. Again, I think it's those two I'm going to have to reread and be like, I want to check in with these and see how they have aged. Because they
Well,
might be
then
genius. I might be like, you know what? He did deserve to get killed with poison cocaine.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned, I guess, for a future What Did You Read? What Are You Reading on YAOK? But since you're not reading those right now, I got to ask Eric, what are you reading right now?
Oh, I start. I'm reading The Devotion of Suspect X. It is a Japanese thriller about a woman who she and her daughter kill her ex-husband when he shows up looking for money and kind of attacking her, and their neighbor overhears it, and the neighbor has a crush on her, and has been stalking her. And so he helps her hide the body, and it's just about them dealing with the police. And I'm just starting it, but it seems like there's a lot going on that is just slowly unraveling. It's very interesting.
Sounds good.
Nice. Alyssa?
I literally last night just finished a book called Play Nice. It's by Rachel Harrison. And Rachel Harrison wrote another book called Cackle that I loved. And I read it like several times because it's so like, it's like spooky Halloween vibes without being like scary. So if anyone is into that, I love that book. I even got it on the audiobook and I just like listened to it in my car during the fall. So I was like, oh, okay, like this will be nice, like spooky, fun, cozy vibes like the other one. It is not. It is fully a possession story. There's an exorcism. There's like one of the quotes in it is "I will drain all your blood." Like it's crazy. But it was really good. I really liked it and it was fun and it was like it was really, really entertaining. I like her writing. I think it's like it's fun and it's modern, but they're like yeah, I don't know. I like Rachel Harrison a lot. So Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. And I need to pick my next book. I have so many books in my room that I need to read. They're just sitting there looking so beautiful and lonely. And so I need to like thumb through. I need to lock in and not buy any books and see what I have. That's what I need to do.
That's what got me reading this one was because I went to my TBR shelf. I made a physical shelf.
Smart.
For all of the books that I want to read. And I just kind of sat there and stared at them for a while. Stared at their spines, took them out one by one, looked at the cover, and then it took me about like a half hour, but I made a decision.
Okay.
I'll tell you what's really helped with me reading lots of books is that every book that I buy but don't read goes on a pile in the floor.
That's what
and
have.
It only gets shelved if it's been read, and then it just becomes this amorphous blob that I need to take down.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, I have to read this pile.
That's exactly
so
what happened to me. I have a big pile on the floor of my room, and it's like I get now every now and again, depending on the angle that I'm in my room, if I film stuff, I get comments that are like, wow, that's a lot of books on the floor. And I'm like, I know.
Stop looking there.
Kind of read them.
I'm currently reading Better the Devil, which I think we've talked enough about on this episode. From our very own Erik J. Brown. So highly recommend that you go and pre-order that one. But I do want to give a quick shout out to part of our podcast family, actually. I can't believe I've never talked about this on the show, but there is a podcast on the Geekscape Network called Campfire Ashes that is a bi-weekly show where two writers, Paul Ray and Justina Michaels, read a short story based around an urban legend and then break down the history of the urban legend after they read their short story.
Ooh,
and they've compiled the first 2 seasons worth of short stories into books that you can purchase now. Tall Tales and Campfire Ashes is the name of the book series that they've created out of these short, like very like, I think like the random story on the episode is like a 5-6 minute story that they tell. They're very like mini podcast episodes, and then with like 20 minutes of like, hey, here's the entire history of this urban legend and like why people believe in it, or like here's the entire history of this cryptozoological creature. So cool. Check out that podcast and check out their book, Tall Tales and Campfire Ashes, because that's what I'm going to read as soon as I finish reading Erik's book. So
that sounds great.
Yeah. And if you're continuing to read stuff, as you should be as a listener of YAOK, we want to hear about it. So find us on Instagram, YAOK Podcast on Instagram. And now we have our fancy new page on the Geekscape website. So if you just go to geekscape.net, you can find the YAOK page that has our links to everything.
Yay!
I mean, everything. Just checking to see what the URL is.
You really baby girled us in this episode. We didn't have to do an intro or an outro.
That's
nice.
what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for.
Geekscape.net/YAOK.
That's super easy to remember. So yeah, if you go to geekscape.net/YAOK, you can see the links to everything and have a player where you can just listen to all of our episodes. But the best way to keep up with us is to like, share, and subscribe. And we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode of YAOK. Or at least Erik and Alyssa will. I'll be behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
91 Donkey Lane is a magical apartment complex that contains immense power but lacks intelligent inhabitants.
What is happening?
I'm getting texts.
Why are we getting a lot of texts?
People found out what we did.
Oh, dividing Mike Myers into an infinite amount of tiny Mike Myers?
Listen to 91 Donkey Lane for free on Spotify or your favorite podcasting app. More at 91donkeylane.com. See you there, you donkeys.
In the darkest corners of the internet, a nameless, formless entity has been growing. No one dares question where it was created or what it wants, but those who have been entranced by its musings chant its blood-curdling name in unison. Horror Movie Night!
Find Horror Movie Night on your favorite podcasting app or at hmnpodcast.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.